Hello, my name is Steve Mulberry with GISinc, and in today's video snippet, I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Tony Urquidi, who is a solution engineer within our federal team. So first off, Tony, thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so Tony, we've been helping and assisting our customers deploy ArcGIS Enterprise for many years now, both on-premise and in the cloud. And in each case, we typically discuss with our customers about business continuity and what that really means and how it impacts the deployment process of ArcGIS Enterprise.
That's right, Steve. It's so important to understand the customer's requirements and service level agreement, or SLA, they have in place with their clients before we deploy ArcGIS Enterprise. This helps with the infrastructure design process.
Exactly. So let's start with a few terms that might help define what business continuity is in relation to ArcGIS Enterprise and make sure that we're all on the same page.
Sure. So we'll start with high availability. It is the acceptable downtime of the system. Then we have failover, which is a standby hardware and software used to replace production when production does go down. We also have active passive. It's built from the failover concept. In an active environment, hardware and software is ready to activate when production goes down. And as a side note, Esri provides an active passive license within core ArcGIS Enterprise deployments. And then we have disaster recovery, pretty much what happens when a truck drives through the data center. So we can apply that to location. We could have a backup and recovery site within the same data center. Within that same data center, we could also have high availability, but we could expand upon that and have geographic redundancy between two different data centers. And in those two different data centers, we could even expand on that and have high availability within each. When calculating availability, we look at basically two factors: recovery time objective and recovery point objective. Recovery time objective is how much time can the application be down without causing significant damage to the business, while recovery point objective refers to how much loss is tolerable, or the amount of data that can be lost before significant harm is done to the business. And as we see in the graph, as we try to get closer to the minimum RTO and RPO objectives, cost increases significantly. The goal isn't to reduce RPO and RTO to zero, but to find acceptable objectives that meet their budget, resources, and priority.
Exactly, and when we start having this discussion with our customers, we often start off with a notion of a 95% availability and see if this fits into their business continuity planning.
Yes, and the risk that some folks fall into is that they don't apply this percentage across the ArcGIS environment. In this example, let's take a look at ArcGIS server environment, which has a web and portal on one box, GIS server on another, and data server. And if we do the math, we see that we're looking at an overall availability of 85.57%.
Exactly. I think the bigger risk might come into play when we don't take the ArcGIS enterprise platform and look at that holistically across a data center, like in this example where we have the DNS, the firewall, the switch, the electricity coming in, the internet service provider, right? And if we do that math together, each one of those components may be a high availability, but together, any one of those could be a single point of failure, which brings the entire environment down to, in this case, around a 77% availability. So it's important to kind of look at those things.
Right. There are a lot of components that play a part in business continuity. While we do our best to mitigate risk where we can, there are just some components we have no control over.
Okay, so thank you, Tony, for joining me today. And to kind of quickly summarize, it's important to understand the drivers that impact business continuity and what method is going to best meet an organization's SLA for providing availability to their ArcGIS enterprise environment. So I really appreciate you taking time to talk with us today about business continuity and when it comes to supporting ArcGIS Enterprise. And those who are watching this recording, thank you for joining, and look for more of these video snippets as we get closer to our webinar, where we will go much deeper into strategies for hosting and managing ArcGIS Enterprise in the cloud. Thank you.